step up on us, step up on us. Diamond, 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 diamond. Diamond, 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 diamonds on my wrist. When I step up on us, step up on us.
All right. What is up, my freight friends? It is back, the top transportation morning show in our industry, coming back to bring the realities of the freight world day in and day out, breaking down 3 industry articles and just providing a different perspective out there through my career, my lens, and everything else. And the best part is I got a bunch of people who are about doing this as well and bringing on and sharing their perspectives on this. And as you guys can see, I got my main man, Adam Wingfield, here with Innovative Logistics. Adam, what's going on, man?
What's up, Charlie? How you doing, man? Happy Monday to you.
Yeah, happy Monday to you as well. It's dude, another week, another more headlines to break down and more information to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Well, hey, before we jump in, as always, my friends over at Bhub, you guys, they are the ones who make this show possible every single weekday morning at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. And, you know, they're all about asset reutilization, you guys. How do we keep trucks running? How do we provide a different perspective, a different sales pitch as brokers out there and add value to our customers? And with their product, you guys, you can do just that. They have their one-way rentals and everything out there. And I'm going to share my screen for you guys so you guys can see this, because I'm a visual learner. And that's just really the only way I can see things. Well, I know that kind of sounded a little weird, but yeah, I'm a visual guy here. So what we're talking about, and I have these kind of going across on the ticker below there. So as you guys can see, there's some trailers over in York, PA, looking to go up. They have up into the Montreal area, which is Coteau-du-Lac. They also have them going into Toronto and everything as well. And what you can do is you can create a drop trailer pool at shippers, and then you can also find power only options to run one way. And then furthermore, they have trailers coming out of there too. So you go up there and drop that trailer, you go and grab an empty, get reloaded in Montreal and head back down into the States. So again, it's like, how are we going to stand out in a crowd out there? And then furthermore, they have one-way repositionings as well. So this is out of Glade Spring, Virginia. And as you guys can see, they have 10 trailers looking to go up into Winnipeg, Edmonton, Alberta, as well as Vancouver, British Columbia. So again, you get, and like what you can see here is you get $1,850. So the carrier themselves, if you're watching this right now and you have Canadian authority and you're a US based carrier, you can get paid $1,850 just to move the trailer on top of what you would do to secure a load to move up into that. So think about that. If you have US authority, you can snag that empty in Glade Spring and deadhead up to cover your fuel to get into Chicago and then find a load going up into one of those 3 cities. So check it out, you guys, vhubapp.com. It is, check out my man, Xavier Campos. He's out there. He's kind of spearheading a lot of this stuff. He can walk you guys through and answer any questions you guys might have about that. Because again, as always, I mean, Adam, you've been around this industry long enough. You know how it is. You got to think outside of the box. You got to get creative at times.
Oh yeah, that's the key to, anytime there's imbalance or anything that's going on crazy, you always got to get creative. There's always a resource somewhere, and there's always a way around it.
No, absolutely. And the best thing about this, you guys, is they're out here fighting for that 97%, just like Adam is every single day. Genevieve, good morning from Las Vegas. I heard you guys had a nasty ass windstorm out there yesterday. My brother lives up in Vegas and he was showing me that. Also, International Road Check is coming up May 17th through the 19th, Wheel End Components. This is also day 21, you guys, of the fact that there are still parking issues as well as restroom issues out there for our drivers to utilize. Adam, you had a fucking post about that shit last week, man, about and it was Sheree who posted that, right? It was Sheree who sent you that?
Well, it was in her group, and it was just,
yeah.
It was someone from in a group, and, and quite frankly, they took it as just the way it's going to be. And it's just so unfortunate that we have to think that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Leffler, armchair attorney, he's in the house. And then also the EIA.gov has not updated the fuel as of when I checked this morning, but it is still at $5.50 a gallon is what it costs to fill up some gold with some gold right now. And yeah, I don't know if there's any slowing down with this one, man. It's going to be interesting to see. And just like anything though, and so like I started putting out, so like I'm changing my daily videos that I'm putting out there, Adam, is now it's the playbook. It's how to navigate in any market shift. Cause I'm out here viewing a bunch of shit that's like, it's deterring people. Like I view some of the stuff that's out there and some of the information, and what other headspace that you're in, man. Like you can, like it is designed at times to to throw people off their game, to have them stop doing it. And you've been in this industry since 2000, right?
Yeah, 2000. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is like the one constant is change in freight. You know what I mean? That is the one constant. And I don't want people to lose sight of that. Like, it's never easy. It's never ideal. Going into business is never easy. It's never ideal. But what you got to do is just fucking execute. So all of those daily videos that I'm putting out there, man, are all about just how to navigate in any market shift, how to build a book of business in any market, how to build a carrier base in any market as well. So that's what we're doing out there. Rhonda, what's up? She's great, man. She's got a big, I don't know if you're connected with her or not, man, but she's got a bunch of solid content out there. Good morning. Good morning, Joanne. Sorry, it says LinkedIn user. I got it narrowed down. It might be my man, Matt Fink out there. But all right, let's jump into some articles here, because there is, as always, it's just coming in hot with some of these. This first one is from FreightWaves, and it is Big Trucking Secret Trick to Impress Wall Street and Slam Mom and Pop Fleets. The price of used trucks has doubled in the last year. This article was written by Rachel Premack. And then it's, it starts off, you had a spare 18-wheeler and you didn't want it anymore. Now would be the time to sell. A 3-year-old truck is selling for more than $141,000, according to the Axe research. And price has more than doubled. Unfortunately, you probably don't have any big rigs sitting around. That's the one thing that many things that differentiate you and me from some of the largest public trucking companies out there. Gain of sale and disposal of property or equipment is a sleepy, often ignored line of any company's annual financial statement, as my colleague Todd Maiden wrote last year. But now trucking companies out there can get a premium. They can get a premium for selling some of their used equipment. But from your perspective, though, I don't like a lot of large fleets. Granted, I've never worked for an enterprise fleet or anything like that, but a lot of them buy new equipment every 3 years anyways, right?
And see, this is one of the keys to when you see folks in that whole buying versus leasing argument. This is a really key example as to why folks buy equipment, because of the actual values that's stated within the equipment. If you own, 1,000 tractors, then you were able to take this and actually really run with it, based on the age of the equipment that you had. Because, just like the article stated, you can get $100,000 for a used truck these days, but if you go back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you're probably going to $60,000 and $70,000 for a used truck with the same dimensions and specs was the going rate. But this is what these larger fleets do. They buy a ton of new equipment, and then after 1.8, 1.9 years, sometimes they go up to 2 years. After those 2 years, they do one or two things. They either sell them back to just from either whether they sell them at an auction, or number two, what they do is they put into a lease purchase program to where they take their current company drivers and they provide them with the tractor. And not only would they charge them for the actual cost of the equipment, but they will also actually charge them a premium for the freight that they're pulling on behind it. So that's their key. That's what they've done, man. This owning assets allows you to be able to do this, and they're just capitalizing on that.
No, absolutely. And then, it also goes on. Mom and pop fleets have been booming in count since the pandemic. What are the stats like pre-2001 on this? Because I know, because it says in early 2021, at least 10,000 new trucking companies have been created each month. Many of them were small. What's on average, though, that market?
About 7,000 to 8,000 a month. I think what you see a lot now, you see about 6,500 revocations each month, which is really high as well. But when we got to the really, really heat of it, when you look back into like March of this year and then November of last year, when you had 11, 12, and 13,000 new motor carriers starting off in these months, that's almost double to what it used to be. And it's like everybody's just in a hurry to get into the industry, which is because it's sexy at that point, and the rates are out of the roof. And now all of a sudden you see that people are kind of residing to escape the market as quickly as possible, just because of the headlines that they're seeing. They're like, oh my God, it's not a good industry to get in. Let's hurry up and get out of here while we can. Let's hurry up and sell this truck that we spent $80,000, $90,000 for, and see if we can get from under it before the value of the truck declines.
No, absolutely. And I think, because it also lists out here that, that these mom and pop truckers have grown more quickly than big trucking. And I think because like a lot of people from the outside looking in, that, like, of course, small trucking companies and small business is going to outpace big business. I think that's a very standard thing. You're going to have a lot more entrance into it than you will people who build up their organization, because obviously that shit takes time. Like Nike wasn't built in a day, McDonald's wasn't built in a day. It takes a long time to do it. But in the trucking industry, for example, out there's, I mean, let's see, there's 1,000 trucks or greater. That's considered a large fleet based off of this article. There's a reason why a lot of there isn't 5 conglomerate carriers. There is an absolute reason for that. It's just like with brokerages too. There's a reason why there's not 5 conglomerate brokers that control 95% of the market. Because at what point, where's the real value for a company like JB Hunt, for example? It's just a shot in the dark example here. What's the value for them to have 50,000 trucks? Because if they wanted 50,000 trucks, chances are they would have 50,000 trucks, right?
That's right.
So what's stopping? What stops a large fleet from expanding? Is it they can't be set up everywhere? Because they pretty much are.
That's a good question, man. That's a really good question. Think about it is that, I think that if you look at the numbers from a number perspective, there's about 260 or 270 really mega fleets that are over that 1,000, but you don't see many more beyond that. And the thing about that is that the biggest thing is that the large fleets, they scale based on their customers.
Yeah.
And they scale based on their direct customer needs. Smaller fleets scale just because, and I hate to say it, but because they want to get more assets and they want to show more. They want to show more on the MCS 150, which unfortunately most small fleets, when they scale off of DAT. They scale off of truckstop.com. They don't scale off of direct. And when I mean direct, I mean one-to-one, direct to shipper type relationships that creates that scalability. But when you see your larger companies, they flex up when they need to. They flex up when their larger customers, it doesn't need 100 trailers anymore. Now they need 250 trailers. Well, then JB Hunt goes out and buys 150 more trailers or creates more capacity. But smaller carriers just don't do that. And that's one of the things that we see as a disadvantage on the smaller carrier side.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I think if you do watch gain of sale and everything on a company's operating report, of course, anybody with assets is going to ride the market out. That's the whole point of, right now, for example, what can a small carrier do to pay off that truck and pay off that trailer so they can take that asset then and leverage it to purchase future assets, because that's what you need to do. So it's a lot of these larger companies out there. It's just like somebody who has a large real estate portfolio. Right now in a lot of markets, it's a top market. So if they want, they're going to dump properties for massive profits. And then guess what they're going to do when that market bottoms out? Then they're going to go in and swoop everything up at pennies on the dollar. That's just how the free market works. And that's why it's such a beautiful market to operate in but the key is how do you navigate through these challenging times? It's right now, it's all about paying off your debt, paying off your liabilities, becoming cash flow positive in any way you possibly can. And it's almost Adam, you've been in business for yourself for a very long time. It is taking the market is going to operate what the market is going to okay, hold on. The market will always operate in its own right.
That's right.
We can't, you as a business owner, you can't control that. But what can you control?
You control expenses, number one, most importantly. You control the things that cost you the most. And the thing about in trucking, and I tell people this all the time, and we've been talking about this long before it was cool, but we've been talking about fuel costs, right? So fuel costs is one of the things that you can control. You can control it in 2 different ways: consumption and selection. You control how you consume, and you control the stations that you actually select to do business with. And the thing about that is that as a business owner, specifically a small business owner, you have to focus on the buckets that really impact you the most, right? So your hiring processes, what you pay your drivers at. You may not necessarily be able to afford to pay a driver a certain percentage because of what your overall liabilities are. Yeah. You might have higher insurance, you might have higher truck notes, but you got to put that into a balance sheet and understand what that break even is, and then decide on what you're able to pay your driver. Don't pay your driver based on what you think the market rate is, because there is no market rate, right? Let's just get it. There's no such thing as a market rate for driver wages. There's no market rate for what a used truck is going to cost you. You have to do it. Every single business is different, and you have to design your business specifically around that. And that's why we focus so much on the bottom line expenses, the things that you can control the most. I can't control the fact that diesel is $5.51 on average today. I can't control that. But what I can control is the fact that if I go over 69 miles per hour with 80,000 pounds, I'm going to lose 20% of consumption as far as miles per gallon. So now I'm going to have to back my pedal off a little bit so I can consume more, so that way I can go further on 1 gallon of diesel fuel. So that's the whole thing that we have to really, really understand. Is the most important thing is that you have to understand exactly what your break-even bottom line is, and we can't guess anymore. We got to stop this guessing. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And that's the thing. And it's like kind of, I guess to clarify some of the articles that I broke down last week about what the FMCSA is doing, I don't believe in the government telling a trucking company to govern their truck at 60 or mandating them to do it. I believe in them investing in the resources and the studies and the case studies to show the benefits of everything you're doing right there, Adam, and breaking that down on like, hey, if you run at 75 with 80,000 pounds on it, this is what your fuel burn is at. If you run at 65, this is what your fuel burn is at, and showing that cost benefit so a carrier can take those that additional revenue and pay off their loans to stay in business in those times. And again, that article was from FreightWaves, Big Trucking Secret Trick to Impress Wall Street by Rachel Premack. Check that one out. Second one is from FreightWaves as well. After March decline, truck transportation jobs up sharply. This is from John Kingston. That was out there. Here, I'm going to Sonny Sharma, Orange Shirt Gang. What's up? He's a member of the TIA. He was out there. He saw our talk. Andrew Teal, know your numbers, know what it costs to run. Absolutely, man. Matt Laird, what's going on? Matt Laird. He'd be a good connection for you, man. He's got 16 reefers, I believe, out of Oklahoma. Let's see here. Yeah, but that article, let's see, on the March truck transportation jobs. They rose in April, but in April, truck transport, they came roaring back. The sector added 13,000 jobs, raising it to 1.5 million. It's the largest increase since April of 2013. After revisions, jobs between February and March were still down, a drop of 5,600 positions. Unlike some months where significant difference in the changes reflected between seasonally adjusted and not seasonally adjusted. Let's see. It also, yeah, I guess, but the employment numbers don't include owner operators or anything like that out there. I think that no matter what, there's always a market. Somebody's always looking for quality. It doesn't matter if it's a good market or a bad market. Somebody's always looking for quality and people are always going to hire. I mean, what was your biggest takeaway from some of that?
So, when I look at this and I looked at some of Jason Miller's comments in this article as well. One of the things that really is kind of like foggy right now is that when you think about dry vans, and this article really kind of talked about, the overall dry van, what that scenario looked like. Dry vans is, primarily one of the things that really drives the dry van market is retail. Retail is one of the biggest drivers in the overall dry van market. But then when you look at the condition and health of retail, so you always look at the top retailers, your Walmarts, your Home Depot, your Targets, the ones that really drive overall freight to the marketplace, whether it be raw needs or whether it be repositioning based on warehousing needs. All of those retailers are seeing double-digit increases year over year in terms of what they're able to facilitate. But then also when you look at the dry van sector as well, you also got to look at credit card spending. People maxed out on their credit cards where they can't go and shop anymore at these retailers, and you're not seeing that just yet. And I'm not a statistician or anything like that. But what makes sense, and what doesn't make sense just doesn't make sense. And then when we said that, hey, all of a sudden there's a decline in jobs in the transportation sector. At what point did we say we don't need truck drivers anymore? I guess is where I got out of it, because we're still on that same pace where we don't have the qualified applicant pool that are coming through to facilitate some of these moves. Where, in my opinion, this is kind of like just one of those articles that kind of support the theory that things may not be as bad as we think in terms of the overall need. Because right now, for the longest, it was like, hey, the need for the truck is going away, right? We don't have that demand for trucks, which I get it. It swings, right? You're going to always have a pendulum swing. Maybe we don't have it at the volume that we needed last year because now inventory levels, just far as dollar signs, are up about 22%. Mm-hmm. Now we may not have the need to restock inventories, and you don't have to restock distribution centers to that level anymore. But we still got to stock from the distribution center back to the stores. We still got to bring product from the raw good manufacturers to the warehouses and the distributors. So we still have that. And then we look at this and compare this to last year, and this is my last comment on it. When you think about last year, you think about, another thing that's really driven heavily in dry goods is outdoor activities, baseball games, softball games, all that good stuff. Concerts. That product is still needed to be flowed into the food service distribution centers, because now you got more people in attendance at games. You got more people full attendance at outdoor events. So it's just, I hear where it's going. I hear where it's saying that, there was kind of a shift in direction, But I think that just like it said it might have been just a false alarm. And that's the things that I hate when we put out a news source, put out a letter like that, and you're shaking up the market up and they, oh, sorry guys, that was a false alarm, and just saying, okay, we'll just see what happens in April's results.
No, absolutely. I'm right there with you, man. I think that again, a lot of the information that is out there is, again, perception's everything. And, I'm not a professional writer by any stretch of the imagination, but I can fucking read and I know what words mean, like, and to me, it's just at the end of the day, you guys rest assured, no matter what market. And I've seen a shitload of markets. I've seen, like, oh, the world's falling apart. Nobody's hiring, but there's always a fucking opportunity for quality. All right. When I was a shitty employee at times, because again, I'm not afraid to admit I wasn't the fucking best. Some people are very fucking afraid to admit that they've done wrong in their lives. I'm not one of them. All right. Yeah. It would have been hard as fuck for me to find a job when I lacked accountability, when I lacked drive and everything else. But I can guarantee you this. If you're working your ass off and you're proving yourself out there, I know a bunch of motherfuckers who are hiring no matter what, because every business owner out there, Adam, I can say this as a business owner. I'm sure you can. You're never not hiring quality. It doesn't matter what market it is.
No, I agree. You hit the nail on the head with that one. Nail on the head.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Again, that one's from FreightWaves. After March decline, truck transportation jobs up sharply. I'm going to get caught up in some comments here. River City Logistics, what's going on? They're out there. Thank God for trucking. 90% of brokers and shippers have no idea what it costs to run these trucks, yet dictate what the load pays us. Yeah, man. Hey, he's the one who gave me that information. I'm breaking it down, man. 11.25. Well, that's what it was a little bit ago. I'm sure that's increased with fuel and everything out there. 11.25 just to break even. Freight coach in Wingfield, regardless of market cycles, and while they won't last, it will always happen. There's too much elasticity in supply and demand freight capacity. Build trust, keep trust. It's your strongest rep. Matt Fink. That's right. That comes from a guy with 20 years experience. I mean, shit. How many people with in-depth industry experience do we need to listen to understand that regardless, everything's cyclical, but relationships will keep you through. And I think people lose sight of what a relationship actually is, because most people think that a relationship is only when I'm fucking winning. That's them. Like, oh, it's a great relationship. I'm winning. Is your carrier winning too? Is your shipper winning in those instances? You really got to start looking at it long-term.
Those are called relationships. If you're in a relationship where it's only one side that's winning, that's an abusive relationship, and you need to get in a different relationship.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what is it called? I'm only hitting you because I love you. Is that what it is? Fuck.
Yeah, that's a one-way relationship, and a lot of those one-way relationships are starting to turn themselves to pass as things kind of shift in the market.
Yeah. Matt Laird, as he says, big data has so much information that can correlate with anything. All my trucks are loaded. Sky didn't fall yet. Hey, man. But, Matt Laird, he's been in business. He knows that markets are going to shift, but he'll figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Last article. I know, like, this is I wanted to save this one for you because, again, like, when it comes down to maintenance and everything else, like, so this one's from Transport News, ttnews.com. Send out your maintenance labor or keep it in the fleet shop. Depending on the varying size of your operation, at what point, because I know our mutual friend, Marcus, blue collar CEO, he's a great follow on Instagram. He got to a point where he was like, I just built my own shop because it was, so like, is there an inflection point that carriers get to that it's cheaper to just hire a mechanic, buy your own parts and do all that in-house? Like, what does that look like?
There's an inflection point. And when you think about that, if you've got 5 units and you're paying, anywhere between $11,000 to $15,000 a year and just maintenance, let's just use 11,000. So you got 5, you're paying $55,000 a year in maintenance. You got to remember, I would say a good 80% of your maintenance costs are just going to be in labor alone. Parts make up the other 20%. So at some point, once you got 55,000, you got 80% of that's in labor. So now you're paying $43,000 to having somebody to work on your truck. That's at 5 units. But as you get closer to 8, 9 units, you do the math on that, you get closer to 8, 9, 10 units. At that point, man, it's just high. It's just a little, it's probably better to have it. Not just that. The problem that I have with when you do maintenance out, you're at the mercy of someone else. A lot of times if you do it at a non-network, like just a mom and pop place, and they work on a DPF sensor and the DPF sensor goes bad, then you go, 1,000 miles across the road, and then obviously now you can't go back to them and get any type of service done back on it. You got to pay another shop to do the same work to repair on it. So what that does is that creates that need, especially if you have multiple units, to just say, you know what, I'm gonna take care of myself, because you'll know at what cadence you'll need it. You won't have the truck sitting as long as you would if you have it on a network mechanic. And to be honest with you, the biggest thing that we struggle with maintenance costs isn't the labor and the downtime. Outside of that, things are what they are. But if you're able to control the actual downtime and actually shorten that downtime, it's not necessarily how much the repair costs you, it's how long that repair keeps you down from operating. The longer that you're down, you can lose $1,000 a day in revenue by not having a truck running, and the longer you're down, the more it's going to cost. But that inflection point definitely is there. And then in these days, anytime you get between 7, 8, 9 tractors, you need to look at leasing some space and being able to bring your own facility in there if you're able to do so.
No, absolutely. And I think, like, again, it's like, what could a fleet do right now, or, that 5 truck operation? Is it, because, like, again, I use my dad as an example a lot, because he did a lot of his own light maintenance and stuff on there. He went and bought tires in bulk, essentially, and he did all of that stuff. He went and bought stuff in bulk, so he had it to do it. So it's like, is that something that, because I know every single one of your clients is in this, so it's like, is that a point that you guys talk about a lot? It's like, hey, tires are at this price, go buy them, keep that capital.
Yeah, and the thing that's getting really, really dicey though now these days, the trucks are getting so much more complex. The newer the tractor, the more complex the sensor is. So it requires a different level of mechanic. And if you look at it from now until, let's just say 2027, 2028, when you see like a lot of these automated trucks hit the highway, then a lot of the actual sensors and the actual upfittings that are in these trucks, it's going to require a different level of mechanic. Right now, what we're focusing on is we're making sure that if you can buy oil in bulk, for instance, if you can buy oil, because you go to a truck stop about a month ago, it was really hard finding just that specific oil. If you can buy that type of stuff in bulk, you get your filters in bulk, you're able to provide yourself at least with the parts that you need to help keep you from being down. Because there's a lot of times where, just back in January, actually December, January, on the freight line, a DD13, it was hard to even find water pumps. And you think about that, water pumps was on like a back order to endless back order at that point. We had trucks sitting for months just looking for water pumps. So, while you're not able to, to stock everything, right, but you can do the basic stuff, like Andrew said, just brake, air hoses, things like that are typical, just on the road maintenance that you can do. To help at least keep you running. In some situations, you don't want your truck just sitting just because it's got a bad belt or a bad hose or a bad separator.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And again, like that article was out there on ttnews.com. Send your maintenance labor out or keep it in fleet. And, they talked about the shortage of technicians that are out there. And again, like, you can look at it in one of two ways. Is there a shortage of technicians, or is there an opportunity for you to create a business? Like, I think like that's like, I'm the least mechanically inclined person out there. I know how to read a tape measure, but only at the quarter, half, 3/4 inch, fucking 1 inch marks. That's about it. But I know a lot of people, and again, it's like talking about the blue collar opportunities that are out there, you guys. Like, when you're seeing this, when you're seeing that there's a shortage of anything out there when it comes to a mechanic, if you're working for somebody right now, this might be a great opportunity for you to get out there, buy your own maintenance truck, connect with every single local trucking company that's out there. And it's not just OTR trucks, you guys, dump trucks, construction, stuff like that want to outsource their maintenance. You could legitimately create your own business out there. Again, I don't know the startup costs of all of this and having the parts and everything, but there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity in the trucking industry as a whole, whether it's maintenance, driving, no matter what, you can start your own company and run a profitable operation out there. There's plenty of success stories in the comments today about guys who built up companies and lasted through market shifts and everything else. So again, it's like there's a bunch of opportunity that's out there. Adam, you got any final thoughts, man? I mean, I like Adam's pretty, like, Adam is my small carrier contact. Like, he is the man when it comes to this stuff. He's actually in it. I don't have a ton of experience when it comes to the fleet side of things, all of my experiences in a broker. But that's why I have friends like Adam to come on and bring their perspective, because I'm not going to sit here and put out content of something that I've never done. That's not what this is all about. This is all about providing education that every single one of you guys can watch, retain, and apply to your daily life and see a difference out there.
My final thought, and one of the things that I always stick behind, and the folks that do well in this business, they really build their businesses the right way. They build their business like a true business. The thing that I love to say is that if you have great systems and processes in place, you can have 100 trucks and it feels like you're running one. But if you don't have anything in order and you're kind of running by the seat of your pants, one truck can feel like 100. That's why it's so important to establish processes, establish systems, ensure that you have as much knowledge as possible, and manage your expenses. Don't worry about the things that you can't control. As a small carrier, you can't control rates. Getting out on Facebook and just complaining on Facebook does no good. Put your energy and focus on the things that really, really matter and stop being distracted. And that's the biggest thing that I can recommend.
No, absolutely. Adam, I appreciate it. You guys, thank you all for tuning in today. Again, Freight Coach Morning Show, the top transportation morning show that is out there. We're bringing the realities of this on a daily basis now. My friends over at Bhub, you guys check them out. My man, Xavier Campos, he's in the comments. Reach out to him about any of those repositionings or asset reutilization examples I threw up there. Again, reach out to him, you guys. Get creative right now. That's all it takes, is get creative, and you can figure this out. I guarantee it. Demetrius Dixon, thank you for joining. Everybody, thank you guys all so much. We're back every single weekday. I do my best to put this out there. If you guys could share this out there, if you guys see value in it, that's how this is going to continue to grow. This is a network, all right? This is a network of people who are in this industry throughout the day-to-day. That's what I'm here to do, is to change the trajectory of this transportation industry. I love this industry with all my fucking heart, and it is my duty to bring this stuff to you guys day in and day out, to bring you guys a sliver of hope, because real shit happens. All right. But there's an opportunity if you're looking for it. I appreciate you guys all so much, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Again, top morning show in Freight, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Central. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.